like a sound. I'm lost and I'm found, and I'm hungry like the wolf. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, the podcast where Matt and Todd go see a movie at our local Regal cinema, and then we sit in Matt's car afterwards, talk about the movie. Should you watch it? Should you not watch it? Did we like it? Did we not like it? Tonight, especially, we're freezing to death in Matt's car because it is super cold. But we're still here for you. I am Todd Dover.
And I'm Matt Malloy. Yes, it is a cold, cold January night. And we are sacrificing for you. The car's not running so that you can have clear audio power coming right at you in this podcast. So, tonight we saw a movie called Scream. Not to be confused with another movie called Scream. This is the 5th Scream movie, but it's not called Scream 5. It's just called Scream.
It's just called Scream.
Yeah. So, who's in this? Well, they resurrected everyone, all main characters from the first movie. David Arquette, Courteney Cox, Neve Campbell, and the ghost of Skeet Ulrich. And I didn't recognize anyone else, although you had some inklings of who else is famous in this, or at least notable.
Yeah, there's a guy in here. He was the Wes kid who had frosted tips.
Frosted tips.
He's been in a whole bunch of like kid movies, and then he's done some adult stuff too. But I would say he's
like porn.
Okay, well, no, I mean like. Oh, not that I know of. I mean, I guess you could dive deeper. And then the actual main character of this movie was one of the main characters from In the Heights.
Aha.
She was the one that the love interest to... No, not Benny. What's the other guy's name in the Heights? The one who wants to leave.
The Jets.
Right.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't
so
remember.
She's
the
in
Heights.
this movie.
In the Heights.
In the Heights.
I remember who the ice vendor was. The shaved ice vendor. Lin-Manuel Miranda.
So, yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
There might be some lower-end people. Not that I mean to call them lower-end people, but... Oh, and Jack Quaid was in this movie. He is one of the main characters in The Boys, the show. And I believe he's Dennis Quaid's son. I could be wrong, but I think I looked that up sometime.
I was wondering about that, based on his last name being...
I think.
Quaid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so what's this movie about? Oh, gosh. This movie was a mess. But I'm going to try and tell you what it was about. This movie is about the return of Ghostface Killer.
Yeah.
Who is the bad guy from all the Scream movies. Wears a mask and a black cloak, and
yes, and there's always two.
There's always two killers, and so this movie follows that formula, and it has its ties back to the original cast. Obviously, as I mentioned, it takes place in the same town that I think they all take place in, and but you've got this kind of new batch of young friends who. It's suspected that the killer is among them, and the killer strikes out first at one of them. And there's all these ties back to, like, oh, well, you're the illegitimate daughter of the original killer. And
tried way too hard to do that. So,
but basically, when you boil it down, this is a whodunit. You try and figure out who the killer is, and there's a lot of, like, horror film talking about the how horror films are made, and like very meta discussions about horror films, and very meta discussions about the rest of the Scream movies.
Yes.
So other than that, you know, it's your slasher whodunit. It's trying to figure out who the killer or killers are, and there's not really much more to it than that, other than bringing back kind of the old characters from previous incarnations of this.
Which isn't even original. I mean, they've been in all the movies. So,
yeah. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. And I will say at this point, Todd, give me your thoughts on Scream 2022.
I have to say first off that this movie is too meta for its own good. It kind of just becomes a joke while you're watching it, like, and they kind of just keep spelling out what's going to happen through jokes, and then it kind of happens, and it's just like it was a mess. I think you put it correctly. It's a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, the acting, I guess, is okay for a slasher flick, but I don't think Courteney Cox can act with her face anymore because of all the plastic surgery.
Oh gosh.
And that became prevalent in many scenes in this movie, and she just kind of looks weird, and I feel bad for her, but I'm like, it's not good. It just kind of felt like they were bringing back the old characters just to do it. They did this movie just to do it. At the end of the movie, they threw up a for Wes, obviously for Wes Craven, who's the creator of the franchise, who's dead now, I believe, or else that message doesn't make sense. And it just was, it was all over the place. It tried to go outside the bounds of these kind of movies at times, and I just don't think anything that they tried to do was rewarded. Like, and it just came off weird. Like, and I'm already not the biggest fan of slasher flicks. That's more your department.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought this was an hour and 45-minute mess. Relying incredibly hard on jump scares and not smart storytelling, just jump scares. Like, there was one scene where, leading up to two people getting killed, there's at least like 6 jump scares, and it just kept going, and it kept going, and by the time like we were getting close to the actual kill, I was done. Like, I was like, you've ruined it. Like, I don't even want to see this kill anymore. So people who think they're super smart made this movie and were like, yeah, this is gonna appease the slasher fans because we're so in on the joke and stuff like that, and that's pretentious to me. And it did not work. So I'm not a big fan of slasher movies. I guess if you love the Scream franchise, then sure, go see the movie. You can see it in theaters if you're a huge fan, or you can wait at home. If you're not a slasher movie and you don't care about the Scream movies, there is absolutely no reason to see this movie, period, for you, in my humble opinion. And that's where I'm going to let it go. I could probably get more angry and talk and go on tangents, but I'm going to rein myself in tonight. Matt?
Rein it in! Well, I am a fan of horror films. I don't know about slasher films specifically. This is definitely in the slasher film category.
What would you classify Friday the 13th?
I would call... I would say more horror than slasher. He does use a machete a good amount. I'll give you that.
There's plenty of slashing, but we
There
wouldn't call
is.
it a slasher flick.
Yeah,
Or did I just blow your mind?
maybe some of them are, not all of them.
That's fair.
But Friday the 13th is more about the villain
Yes.
than these movies are about different people being the villain.
Yeah, I
always-
almost feel like if they made it this movie from the vantage point of the killers, and you knew that, like, the movie starts with them planning everything and stuff like that. Like, if you knew that, it'd be like, that would really be a fresh take on this. And
Right.
the surprise in the movie is who they kill in what order and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. So this movie, yes, it's a mess, and the kills themselves are so repetitive.
Yeah.
Like, you're using a knife for almost every death in the movie, and every death is preceded by a life or death struggle, and then in most cases the killer wins.
Yeah.
And just kills the person. And that gets old in this film. You
Yes.
see it over and over again. Same thing. If you haven't seen the Scream movies, like, probably all of them, but at least the first one, you're going to be lost.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen the first one, not for a long, long, long time. And I felt like I was lost.
Yeah.
Todd, you were leaning over and telling me things about what was going on, because it was just like, it was so, like, the assumption is you have memorized the previous Scream movies and are getting all these, like, in jokes and all these character references and different people popping in and out. So if you haven't seen Scream in a while and you really like those movies and you want to watch this movie, I would recommend maybe a refresh on at least the first one. This is a mess. This movie is not good. But it does have one redeeming characteristic that I will share, which is that one of the characters is laid up in the hospital bed and is watching Dawson's Creek, which I'm a big fan of. And not just is she watching Dawson's Creek, she's watching like a Halloween episode where they're like trapped and trying to figure out a killer type situation.
Yeah.
So kudos and hats off for that. But that's about it for me as far as the good parts. And yeah, that's where I am with it.
Fair.
Don't see this in theaters. Don't see this really at all. If you are a Scream fanatic, you'll watch it, but you won't like it.
Yeah. So moving on. How many how many tummy stabs do you give this movie?
Oh.
As there are a lot.
There are a lot of tummy stabs.
Obviously, 0 being the worst, because then not stabbed at all, and I don't know.
Everybody
and then 5 tummy stabs is the best, because I don't know, if you survive, you're a hero. I don't.
Right.
It's all falling apart. Just grade it.
Okay. I'm gonna give this 1 tummy stab out of 5. This isn't a good movie. The only reason you got to 1 is because you had Dawson's Creek featured in the movie. Do I like the fact that you had, these old people in it? I guess I like that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I like seeing Neve Campbell after 100 years of not seeing her.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of hers.
Oh, okay.
Previously, in a previous life.
Because of Scream, or?
No, because of relative hotness.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I was a fan of Neve Campbell's looks.
I see.
But yeah, I'm gonna give this a 1, and we'll leave it there. 1 tummy stab. What do you say, Todd?
It's been a while, Matt, but we are right on the money.
Ding, ding, ding.
1 tummy stab out of 5.
1 tummy stab.
There's not much I can say more that hasn't already been said. It just was a mess, and it wasn't really fun. And also, the theater was super cold, which really distracted me.
Yeah, I would have liked some heat raining down.
Yeah.
We didn't get it.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for this short episode, I'm sure, of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, where we review the movie Scream, 2021 edition, not the whatever long ago edition was. But we didn't like it. We gave it an average of 1 tummy stab. In fact, we both rated it 1 out of 5 tummy stabs.
That's not a lot of tummy stabs.
That's not a lot. That's a very poor rating. That's among our lowest ratings that we've given a movie. And don't see this movie. Don't even stream it on your phone. Thank you, listeners, for downloading, for listening, for clicking, and enjoying this podcast. And we will see you next time.
Da 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 da
Da-da.
da da da.
Da-da-da.